Thank you, Chief Whip. Votes and proceedings of Thursday, 6 July 2017. Page 49, page 50, page 51, page 52, page 53, page 54, page 55, page 56, page 57, page 58, page 59, page 60, page 61, page 62, page 63, page 64, page 65, page 66, page 67, page 68, page 69, page 70, page 71, page 72, page 73, page 74, page 75, page 76, page 77, page 78, page 79, page 80, page 81. Page 82, page 83, page 84, page 85, page 86, page 87, page 88, page 89, page 90, page 91, page 92, page 93. Page 94, page 95, page 96, page 97, page 98, page 99, page 100, page 101, page 102, page 103, page 104, page 105, page 106, page 107, page 108, page 109, page 110, page 111, page 112, page 113. Page 114. $115, $116, $117, $118, $119, $120, $121, $121, $122, $123, $124, $125, $126, $127, $128, $129, $130, $131, $132, $133, $134, $135, $136, $137, $138, $139, $140, $141, $142, $143, $144, $145, $146, 147. 148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 156. Senator Shaba Lafiaji, Kwara North.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Shaba Lafiaji. I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 6 July 2017 is approved. I so move.
Senator Clifford Odia, Edo Central.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Clifford Odia, representing Edo Central. I rise to second the motion that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 6th July 2017 be approved. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 6 July 2017 be hereby approved, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Thursday, 6 July 2017 is hereby approved. Announcements. Members of the Nigerian chapter of the Global Legislators Organization for a Balanced Environment, Globe Nigeria, will be having a meeting today, Tuesday, 11 July, venue, Senate Meeting Room 221, time 3 p.m. Signed, Global Nigeria Secretariat. Distinguished, just to join us to congratulate Senator James Manager, who celebrated his birthday on Friday, the 7th of July. We wish him many more years in good health and God's protection. Let me acknowledge the presence of members of the National Association of Political Science Students, Ekiti State University Chapter, Ado Ekiti, Ekiti State, and also staff and students of Medley High School, Mararaba, Nasarawa State, staff and students of Methodist Nursery and Primary School, Sabon Lugbe, Abuja, and staff and students of Lugbe International Academy, FHA Lugbe, Abuja, who are all in our gallery to observe the Senate proceedings. I wish them a fruitful observation. You can now sit down. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Point of order, Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues.
Order.
I come under Order 43 of the rules of this Senate. By the indulgence of the Senate and leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may any debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when it's leave to make each sought. So I come under 43 for personal explanation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this morning my attention was drawn to a 3-page advertorial by the Attorney General of Kogi State, pages 20, 21, and 22 of the Leadership newspaper. He was responding to my contribution at the floor of this Senate when Senator Dino Malaye informed this Senate of the effort of the people of his constituency to recall him. And I also advised that the people of Kogi State, or indeed his constituents, should better apply their time to more useful venture in view of the strict and very difficult conditions for recall of a parliamentarian. And in reference to the Attorney General, I did say that I believe that my learned friend, the Attorney General, may not have advised the Kogi people or indeed the government appropriately. So this morning, Kogi State government took out 3-page advertorial to respond to me. I understand that every page costs about 700,000. So that is to say that for this alone, they spent 2 million. I understand too that this is about 5 other papers. So we are looking at about 12 million of Kogi State government spent in responding to my contribution at the floor of this Senate. Meanwhile, what I say here is supposed to be privileged. That's what the law says. But I would have ordinarily ignored him. But I would like to point out his final paragraph so that I'll put everything in proper perspective. He said, and I read, "Finally, I must put on record that contrary to the legal opinion of Senator Ekweremadu on the role of the Senate in the recall process, the Senate has no role whatsoever in the recall exercise than to receive the certificate under the hand of the chairman of INEC stating that the provisions of Section 69 of the Constitution has been complied with. See Section 68H and 69 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Indeed," this is what he said, "indeed, by the provisions of the INEC regulations for the recall of a legislator stand recalled upon INEC's confirmation of a majority vote in favor of the recall." So he is saying that the Senate has no role. He is the Attorney General of Kogi State. I stand by what I said the other day, and I would like to take him to Section 68(2) of the Constitution to show the role of the Senate, which is saying we don't have any role. Section 68(2) reads, "The President of the Senate," let me start from H. "The President of the Senate," the 68(1)H says, "The President of the Senate, or as the case may be, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, receives a certificate under the hand of the Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, stating that the provisions of Section 69 of this Constitution have been complied with in respect of the recall of that member." That was the section the Attorney General was referring to. But he mischievously refused to state the provision of Section 2, or probably out of ignorance, he did not put Section 68(2), which states that the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House of Representatives, as the case may be, shall give effect to the provisions of Section 1 of this section. However, that the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House of Representatives or a member shall first present evidence satisfactory to the House concerned that any of the provisions of that subsection has become applicable in respect of that member. So I don't know how he came to the conclusion that we do not have any role to play. I stand by my position that when INEC is through with any recall process, they must write to the Senate President, who will now read it before us and will be satisfied that the provision of 69 in reference to recall has been fully complied with. So I pity the people of Kogi State. I hired this kind of Attorney General. I sympathize with them, and this is unfortunate that we are paying a public servant and is unable to do a simple work of looking at the Constitution. Let me also emphasize that this 68(2) is not part of the amendment we made in the Constitution since 1999. This has been the original provision of the Constitution, so we didn't invent it. It has nothing to do with Bino or whoever. We inherited this provision since 1999. It's been there. So for him not to know about it, I don't know when he went to law school anyway, because if he has been properly educated, I bet that he should be conversant with the basic provisions of the Constitution. So, and I also don't know his age at the bar, but apparently I believe I'm his senior at the bar, and I expect him to show some respect to his seniors, because that is what we are taught at the law school, to respect our seniors. But if I have abundance of doubt, I also believe I have a better credentials than himself in the legal profession. I was a law teacher, and my interest was constitutional law. I also practice law. I have a doctorate degree in law, and my interest is also constitutional law. I've been chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee of this National Assembly since 2010. So if I'm talking about the Constitution, I must know what I'm talking about. And I expect the Attorney General, instead of displaying his ignorance, to simply call me and I educate him on the correct position of the law. So I take exception to this, and I believe that he needs to refund the amount spent on this to the people of Kogi. So I call on the Kogi House of Assembly to institute an inquiry on who paid for this and find a way of receiving the money back so they can use it to pay salaries of the ordinary people of Kogi State. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, the Deputy Senate President came under Order 43 as according to our rules. There cannot be further debate, but I honestly, one is very, very concerned with the caliber of people holding very senior positions in government, because the Constitution is very, very clear. Even those of us who are only association with the legal profession is being married to one, but at least we have learned over the years to know that this is straightforward. But what is even more disturbing and irresponsible is how you can spend 10 million on advert. I mean, I've been a governor. When you even find money for advert, it's a difficult thing on an issue that I don't see where the involvement of government is. I think this pretty even shows that it is government that truly is behind this entire process, when a government can go about and take an advert on an issue like this. I think there's really honestly need for some of the people who are appointed or elected to position to show some level of responsibility. But I think DSP, 10 years is no joke. We have always said that, I mean, this is even a very simple matter that is in the Constitution. You did not write it, nor did you invent it. We're just reading as what it is. As you say, it's very unfortunate for the people of Kogi State. Senator Buhari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleague, I take Order 42-2. Mr. President, if I can have your permission to...
Go ahead.
Matter of urgent public importance. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. Mr. President, I call the attention of the Senate to the urgent need of 34,000 students of Ladoke Akitola University, whose school has been closed down in the last 1 year. Mr. President, I intend to bring a motion to this Senate for us to look at how we can assist these students before they become a miscreant on the road. I should move, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Buhari just discussed this with me, and in line with our standing rules, we must get the leave of the Senate that this can come back, be presented for another legislative day. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We'll put that for the next legislative day. Yeah, point of order, Senator David.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I come under Order 42 and Order 52 of our rules.
Yeah, go ahead.
The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. And that is why I'm relying also on Order 52 to dispense with the notice. Order 52 Mr. President, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. Mr. President, we are all aware of the flood that took place in Suleja following 5 hours of heavy downpour in which lives were lost. Mr. President, I have a motion with your permission that I...
Distinguished colleagues, Senator David Umaru did discuss with me this disaster that results in loss of lives of so many people. And by standing rules, I need the permission for leave to take it and also dispense notice. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. David Umaru can present the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. The motion on the flood disaster that has affected Suleja and Tafa local government areas of Niger State and also Lagos State, concerned by the fierce flooding that ravaged homes and farmlands in Tafa local government area of Niger State and also in Lagos State and other parts of Nigeria over the weekend on Sunday, July 9th, 2017. The Senate is aware that unconfirmed reports contained in electronic and print media has put the death toll from the Suleja flood incident to over 15 persons, with many lives waiting desperately for shelter, food, and medical assistance. The Senate is concerned that the scale of devastation is beyond the capacity of Suleja and Tafa local government councils and indeed Niger State government to handle, except with intervention from the relevant relief agencies of the federal government of Nigeria. Worried that the recent flood disasters in the country appear to have consistently caught victims off guard in spite of early weather forecasts, including prediction of flood, thunderstorm, and other extreme weather conditions by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET. The Senate is alarmed that the victims of these flood incidents in Suleja and Tafa local governments and other parts of the country are presently at the risk of contracting waterborne diseases such as cholera and even malaria as a result of the devastation caused by the flood to their sanitation and immediate surroundings. The Senate accordingly resolves to, one, commiserate with the government and people of Niger and Lagos states affected by the weekend flood, aptly described as waters of sorrows by the African Independent Television, AIT. 2, urge the federal government to send relief materials through the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and also support the affected states in any other ways to ensure that immediate repair and reinforcement of damaged infrastructure that will withstand future rainfall and pave way for the resettlement of all flood victims. 3, urge NIMET to intensify its weather forecast with emphasis on translating such weather forecasts in languages widely spoken in areas that are likely to experience flood, thunderstorms, and other extreme weather conditions. 4, call on the federal government to, as an emergency intervention measure, release funds from the ecological funds to the Niger State government for immediate construction of drainage systems in Suleja, Tafa, and other flood-prone areas of Niger State. 5, urge and call on government to, at all levels, take seriously weather forecasts and flood predictions by NIMET, and always take proactive measures to minimize loss of lives and properties associated with flooding and other natural disasters. And 6, observe 1 minute silence in honor of those who lost their lives as a result of the flood incident. I so move. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Aliu Sabi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. I rise to second the motion ably moved by distinguished Senator David Umar with respect to this very unfortunate incidents that happened in Niger State, specifically the Suleja area. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this distinguished chamber has actually discussed the issue of floods generally across the various parts of this country. And what has happened in Suleja is a clear confirmation of the fact that this is something that will require a much more robust, action from the part of government so that we can prevent the very unfortunate loss of lives and livelihood of our citizens. And I think even though the subject matter is a little bit, the recommendations are a little bit straightforward, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I think we need to really look at these issues from the actions that we have put in place from a legislative perspective, so that year in, year out, these problems, as we face them, we will have a robust mechanism for attending to the problems as they come, so that we are not having an ad hoc arrangement to attend to these issues. With these few comments, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I ably second that we really consider all the prayers in this particular motion. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, this is a straightforward motion, so we'll just go straight to the prayer. Prayer 1, commiserate with the government and people of Niger State. People of Niger and governors of Lagos State affected by the weekend flood, aptly described as waters of sorrows by the Africa Independent Television. Prayer 1. Prayer 2, urge the federal government to send relief materials through the National Emergency Management Agency and also support the affected states in any other ways to ensure immediate repair and reinforcement of damaged infrastructure that will withstand future rainfall and pave way for resettlement of all flood items. So let me take prayer 1 then. Those in favor of prayer 1, commiserate with the government. Amendment to prayer 1. Yes, Senator Olujimi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Biodun Olujimi, Ekiti South. Mr. President, I intend to amend the prayer to include other areas affected by the flood, because Ekiti State was affected and we lost lives.
Lagos State,
including Lagos State and some other areas, and parts of Kogi.
Warri in Delta State.
And Warri in Delta State.
I think to make you just include other areas affected, so that instead of naming. Any seconder to that? Senator Sumono.
Arise. My name is Senator Monsura Sumono. Arise to second the motion being raised by Senator Olujimi that all other affected areas should be put into it. Thank you. All
right, so I'll read it. So prayer 1 should read as for the community with the government and people of Niger State and government of Lagos affected by the weekend flood and other areas so affected. Those in favor of prayer 1, as amended, say aye. Those against say nay. There is it. Prayer 2, urge the federal government to send relief materials through the National Emergency Management Agency and also support the affected states in any other ways to ensure the immediate repair and reinforcement of damaged infrastructure that could withstand future rainfall and pave way for the resettlement of all flood victims. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. There is it. Prayer 3, urge NIMET to intensify its weather forecast and emphasis on translating such forecasts in languages widely spoken in areas that are likely to experience flood, thunderstorms, and other extreme weather conditions. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, call on the federal government to, as an emergency intervention measure, relief funds from ecological funds to Niger State government for immediate construction of the drainage system in Suleja, Tafa, and other flood-prone areas of Niger State. Those in favor of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, call on government to, at all levels, to take seriously weather forecasts Flawed predictions by NIMET and others, and always take proactive measures to minimize loss of lives and properties associated with flooding and other natural disasters. Those in favor of prayer 5 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 6, observe 1 minute silence in honor of those who lost their lives as a result of the flood incident. Those in favor of prayer 6 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Can we observe the 1 minute silence for those who lost their lives? Their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Abdullahi Gumel on the Border Community Development Agency Act 2003, Amendment Bill 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Border Communities Development Agency Act 2003, Amendment Bill 2017, SB 523, first reading.
Border Communities Development Agency Act 2003, Amendment Bill 2017, SB 523, first reading taken. Clerk, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Ike Ekweremadu, the DSP, on the Institute of Mediators and Conciliators, Establishment ETC, Bill 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of it.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Institute of Mediators and Conciliators, Establishment, etc., Bill 2017, SB 512, first reading.
Institute of Mediators and Conciliators, Establishment, etc., Bill 2017, SB 512, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of the bill standing in the name of Senator Philip Gunka on the Public Enterprises Privatization and Commercialization Act, Amendment Bill 2017. Mr. President, may we invite Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Order.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Public Enterprises Privatization and Commercialization Act, Amendment Bill 2017, SB 444, first reading.
Public Enterprises Privatization and Commercialization Act, Amendment Bill 2017, SB 444, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Hope Uzodinma on the Nigerian Dock Labor Act, please. Cap N. Order. Cap N 103 LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2017. Mr. President, we wish to invite Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Dock Labor Act, Cap N 103 LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2017, SB 526, first reading.
Nigerian Dock Labor Act, Cap N 103, LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2017, SB 526, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Treasury Management Establishment, etc. Bill 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Treasury Management Establishment, etc. Bill 2017 as HB 100, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Treasury Management Establishment, etc. Bill 2017, HB 100, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the Conference Committee report on the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act Cap B2 LFN 2011 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017. Mr. President, we wish to invite Senator Rafiu Adebayo, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Rafiu.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my distinguished colleague. I'm Rafiu Adebayo Ibrahim. I represent Kwara South. I rise to move that the Senate do receive the report of the Conference Committee on Bankruptcy and Insolvency Cap B2 LFN 2011 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017 SB09 to be laid.
Senator Geshem Bassi, Cross River South.
Thank you, Mr. President. Geshem Bassi, Cross River South. I hereby second the motion moved by Senator Rafiu.
Thank you, Senator Geshem Bassi. Those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Conference Committee on Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act Cap B2 LFN 2011, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017 SB09. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Rafi Brian, come and lay your report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of the Conference Committee report on the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria Establishment, etc. Bill 2017. Mr. President, may wish to invite Senator Oloremi Tinubu, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Oloremi Tinubu.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Oluremi Tinubu, representing Lagos Central Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Conference Committee on Forest Research Institute of Nigeria, Establishment, etc., Bill 2017, SB 14. I so move.
Senator Chukwudezu, River West. Senator Chukwudezu, River West.
Thank you, distinguished Senate President, my fellow colleagues. I rise to second the motion that the conference report of the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria be received by this Senate.
Thank you. Those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Conference Committee on Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria, Establishment, etc., Bill 2017 SB 14. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Oloremi Tinubu, come and lay your report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the eighth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the extortion of pilgrims by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Mansoura Sumonu, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Mansoura Sumonu, Oyo Central.
My name is Senator Mansoura Sumonu, representing Oyo Central Senatorial District. I hereby rise to raise the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the extortion of pilgrims by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. I hereby move.
Senator Mohammed Hassan, Yobe South.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Hassan. I represent Yobe South. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the extortion of pilgrims by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON. I so second.
Thank you, Senator Mohammed Hassan. Those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the extortion of pilgrims by the National Hajj Commission, those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Mansoura Sumonu, come and lay your report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first to ninth order of the day are House bills for concurrence as listed on the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 5th October 2016, Tuesday, 11th October 2016, Thursday, 13th October 2016, Tuesday, 27th September 2016, Thursday, 15th June 2017, Wednesday, 14th June 2017, Wednesday, 5th July 2017, and Wednesday, 8th March 2017, respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of the amendments, I will use a single lead debate on these bills.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, it is my honor and pleasure to lead the debate on the following bills from the House of Representatives for our concurrence. The bills are: 1. Animal Health and Husbandry Technologies Registration, etc. Bill 2017, HB 320. 2. Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2017, HB 99 and 118. 3. Compulsory Treatment and Care of Victims of Gunshots Bill 2017, HB 119. 4. Corporate Manslaughter Bill 2017, HB 273. 5. National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency Bill 2017, HB 127. 6. National Intelligence Agency Pension Board Establishment, etc. Bill 2017, HB 842. 7. Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Plan, Fiscal Incentives, Assurances and Guarantees Bill 2017, HB 896. 8. Nigerian Academy of Science Establishment, ETC Bill 2017, HB 917. And 9. National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science Bill 2017, HB 405. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Animal Health and Husbandry Technologies Registration Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on 5th October 2016. The bill seeks to establish the Animal Health and Husbandry Technologies Board with the responsibility for, amongst others, A. Determine what standards of knowledge and skill are to be attained by persons seeking to become animal health and husbandry technologies. Am I too fast? B, promote the highest standard of competence, practice, and conduct, and welfare amongst members of the profession. Distinguished colleagues, the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2017, HB 99 and 118, was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 13th October 2016. This bill seeks to amend the Nigerian Oil and Gas Content Development Act by extending the waiver window, removing difficulties of access to funds, and correcting its long title. The compulsory treatment and care of victims of gunshots Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 13th October 2016. This bill seeks to provide for the compulsory treatment, protection, and care for victims of gunshots in Nigeria, and also prescribe penalties for offenders. The Corporate Manslaughter Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 11th October 2016. This bill seeks to provide for the offense of corporate manslaughter and corporate homicide to make corporate organizations criminally liable for the death of employees arising from the failure of the organization to observe appropriate duty of care in the operations and management of its activities. The National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 27 September 2016. This bill seeks to establish the National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency and to provide necessary protection and care for the Nigerian child. The National Intelligence Agency Pension Board Establishment Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 15 June 2017. The bill seeks to establish the National Intelligence Agency Pension Board to provide for the administration of the pension scheme of personnel of the agency, following the exit of the agency from the application of the contributory pension scheme under the Pension Reform Act of 2004. The Nigerian Automotive Industry Development Plan, Fiscal Incentive Assurances and Guarantees Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 14 June 2017. This bill seeks to confer pioneer status, tariff incentives, income tax relief on automotive and automotive components, and to provide for the assurances and guarantees by the federal government to the automotive and tire enterprises under the Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Plan. The Nigeria Academy of Science Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 5th July 2017. This bill seeks to establish the Nigeria Academy of Science to promote the growth, acquisition, and dissemination of scientific knowledge and to facilitate the use of science for national development. The National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science Bill 2017 was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 8 March 2017. The bill seeks to establish the National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science responsible for the conduct of professional postgraduate examination of candidates in the various specialized branches of the medical laboratory science and make awards in relation thereto accordingly. Mr. President, my respected and distinguished colleagues, these bills are not controversial and were subjected to rigorous scrutiny and public hearings in the House of Representatives before passage. The bills were also referred to the various Senate committees that have jurisdictions on the bills for their inputs, and they have written in support of the passage of the bills for second reading. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of these bills. Thank you, and God bless.
Any comments? If no comments, then I'll put the question. Those in favor that all these bills will now be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to regulate the practice and to make provisions for Animal Health Husbandry Technologies Registration Board of Nigeria and for other related matters connected therewith, 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to regulate and regulate the practice and to make provisions for Animal Health Husbandry Technologies Registration Board of Nigeria and for other related matters connected therein, 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010 and for purposes connected therewith 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010 and for purposes connected therewith 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to make provision for the compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots and for other matters connected therewith 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to make provisions for the compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots and for other matters connected therewith 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for corporate manslaughter to make corporate organizations criminally liable for death of employees arising from the act of omission and for other related matters 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for corporate manslaughter to make corporate organization criminally liable for death or employees arising from acts of omission and for other related matters 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency and for related matters 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency and for related matters 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Intelligence Agency Pensions Board to handle pensions matters for personnel of the agency and for other connected purposes 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Intelligence Agency Pensions Board to handle pension matters for personnel of the agency and for other connected purposes 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to confer pioneer status, tariff incentives, income tax relief on automobile components, and to provide for the assurances and guarantees by the federal government to the automobile and tire enterprises under the Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Plan and for related matters 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to confer pioneer status, tariff incentives, income tax relief on automobile components and to provide for the assurances and guarantees by the federal government to the automobile and tire enterprises under the Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Plan and for related matters 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Academy of Science to promote the growth, acquisition, and dissemination of scientific knowledge and to facilitate the use of science in the solution to problems of national interest and for related matters 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Academy of Science to promote the growth, acquisition, and dissemination of scientific knowledge and to facilitate the use of science in the solution to problems of national interest and for related matters 2017, second reading taken. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Postgraduate College of Medicine, Laboratory Science, and for matters connected therewith, 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science and for matters connected therewith, 2017, second reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in accordance with Order 811, I move that the bill be referred to the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bills be referred to the Committee of the Whole. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. All right, distinguished colleagues, we have here 9 bills. We'll take the first one, Animal Health and Husbandry. This is 22 clauses. And they're all retained. So I'll go through them as quick as possible. Page 1, clause 1 and clause 2. Those in favor of clause 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3, 4, and 5. Those in favor of clause 3, 4, and 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, 7, and 8. Those in favor of clause 6, 7, and 8 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9 on page 4. Those in favor of clause 9 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 10. Those in favor of clause 10 and 11 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 12, 13, 14, 15 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Page 10, clause 16. Those in favor of clause 16 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 17, 18, 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 20, 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title clause 22 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of schedules 1 to 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill is the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act. This has 107 clauses. Yes, Senator James mentioned.
Mr. President, seated as chair, my respected colleagues, I am a little bit concerned, and the concern is stemming from the fact that as we speak, the oil industry is undergoing a revolution because of the oil industry bill that is before the National Assembly. And I do know that we have passed the governance bill, waiting for the House to concur with us. I am just worried that some of the things we are now doing may be conflicting with some of the provisions of this very important bill that will eventually, by the grace of God, become an act of Parliament. So how do we reconcile in the final analysis? We are now considering this, and then we have also done one, and another one is coming. That is the second leg of that other one is also coming up. So, Mr. President, seated at chair, I'm just concerned. I don't need clarifications. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think you've made a very good point, and I'm inclined to also support what you're saying, that these also, there's no way that the amendments here must take into fact the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill that we have passed, the Petroleum Industry Bill that the House is working on. So I think it would make more sense for us really to refer this back to our Committee on Petroleum and wait to take it simultaneously as when we consider those two bills on. So if nobody objects to this, I think we'll take the comment of Senator James Manja and we'll move in that direction. Yes? Leader, you move the motion for that so I can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. I move that we step down the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010 Amendment Bill till another legislative day. We send it to the appropriate committee for further legislative action.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that's moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we stand down this bill and send it to the appropriate committee for further legislative work, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill that we have is the compulsory treatment and care of victims. This is 18 clauses. So I'll take start from page 1. Those in favor of clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 6 and 7, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Page 2, clause 8. Clause 8. Those in favor that clause 8 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9 and 10. Those in favor that clause 9 and 10 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 11 and 12. Those in favor that clause 11 and 12 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, and Jonkwe.
Item, that is clause 12. Victims, there should be S and an apostrophe after the S. Victims' relations. That is duty to notify victims' relations.
All right. Nigeria is noted. Yeah, those in favor that clauses 11 and 12 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 13 and 14 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 15 and 16 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 17 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title was 18 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 3 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. Yes. Magnus Abbey.
Clause 18, that the bill may be cited as a compulsory treatment and care of victims of gunshots bill. I don't know how that sounds, sir. Compulsory treatment and care of victims of gunshots. Does this sound okay to you? It's correct, eh? Okay, thank you, sir. The English master says correct.
Point 17. Right. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 3 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill is the compulsory manslaughter bill. This has 20 clauses. Page 1. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. Those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3 on page 4. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4 on page 5. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5. Those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 6. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 7 and 8 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9 on page 9. Those in favor that clause 9 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 10 and 11 and 12. Your observation.
Dear colleagues, not on anything organic, but just the arrangement of sections. Already in this section, emergency circumstances means, I'm reading page 7, Mr. Chairman, and my respected colleagues. There is a definition section at the end of everything. But here, the definition is being made on the body of the bill. And that's supposed to be at the end, towards the end, where you have everything, the definition of every section, meaning of everything. That is how it's supposed to be arranged. I am a little bit worried about this arrangement, sir.
Like the addendum.
Yeah, page 10. Sorry, page 9, clause 9. Those in favor that clause 9 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 10. Yeah, clause 10 and 11, 12. That clause 10, 11, 12 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 13. 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 14, 15, and 16 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 17. Those in favor of clause 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 18. Those in favor of clause 18 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 19. Those in favor of clause 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Yeah. You know, take note of that. Those in favor of clause 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those 2017. Amendment, please take note of that. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill, National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency. This has 22 clauses. Start with page 1, clause 1 and 2. Okay, those in favor of clause 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. That's it. Clause 3 on page 3. Those in favor of clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. That's it. Clause 4. Those in favor of clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5. Those in favor of clause 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6. In favor of clause 6, 7. Those in favor of clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, I will. Clause 7, Senator Barrow.
Mr. Chairman, I am Barrow Jibrin, Kano North. Mr. Chairman, clause 7 specifies the units that are supposed to be under the agency, but there is no admin and finance unit, and I think it's important because of the administration and finance matters, you know, a unit that should handle the admin and finance of the agency. You have investigation unit and others, but no admin and finance unit. At least you need an administration to handle the agency. It's finance and administration.
But I thought it says the establishment of special units, so it assumes that there must be other units anyway. And then it now says F. If there are other units that they need, they go to the council. So those in favor of clause 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 8. Those in favor that Clause 8 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9 and 10. Those in favor that 9 and 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 and 12. Those in favor that 11 and 12 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 13, 14, 15. Those in favor that Clause 13, 14, 15 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16. Those in favor that Clause 16 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 17 and 18. Those in favor that Clause 17 and 18 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 19 and 20. Those in favor that Clause 19 and 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that Clause 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title Clause 22 stands part of the bill say aye. Amendment 2017 as well as amendment, take note of that, please. Those in favor that the short title as amended stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that Schedules 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those are in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And those in favor that long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill is the National Intelligence Agency Pension Board. These has 15 clauses, and they're all retained. Page 1, those in favor of clauses 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me take it. Those in favor of clause 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 5, 6, and 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 8, 9, and 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 11, 12, and 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 14 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that short title clause 15 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that schedules 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 6 to 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And those in favor that long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill is the National Automotive Industry Development Plan. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I have been informed that there are some few issues, especially the duties that will be introduced in this, by this bill when it becomes law, need to be looked at again. I will therefore move that we step down the consideration of this bill till another legislative day, and we refer it to the appropriate and relevant committee for further legislative action.
Mr. President, I second as moved by the leader.
Those in favor that will step down this bill and refer it to the relevant committee for more legislative will say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill is the National Academy for Sciences. This has 19 clauses. And they're all retained. Page 1, clause 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those in favor of clause 1, 2, 3, and 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 5 and 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 8 and 9 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 10 and 11 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 12 and 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 14, 15, and 16 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 18 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the short titles, clause 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of schedules 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The last one is the bill on National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science. This bill has 16 clauses, and again, they're all retained. So we start from page 1. Those in favor of the clauses 1, 2, 3, 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 5, 6, 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 8. Those in favor of clause 8 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 9 and 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 11, 12, and 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 14 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 15 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 16, the short title, stands part of the bill amended to 2017. Secretary, amendment, take note of that. Those in favor of clause 16, short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules first schedule stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress.
moved by the Leader of the Senate.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the Animal Health and Husbandry Technology Registration Bill 2017 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 21 as recommended, Schedules 1 to 3 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigeria Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2017. The bill was referred to relevant committees for further legislative action and thus referred to Committee on Upstream and Downstream and Gas. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? This bill is referred to Committee on Upstream and Gas. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Compulsory Treatment and Care of Victims of Gunshots Bill 2017 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 17 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Corporate Manslaughter Bill 2017 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 19 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Child Protection Enforcement Agency Bill 2017 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 21 as recommended, Schedules 1 and 2 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Intelligence Agency Pension Board, Establishment, etc. Bill 2017 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 14 as recommended, Schedules 1 and 2 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Automobile Industry Development Plan, Fiscal Incentive Assurances and Guarantees Bill. This bill is referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action and referred to Trade and Investment and Industry Committees. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? This bill on National Automotive Industry Development Plan is referred to Trade and Investment and Industry Committees. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigerian Academy of Science established in Secretariat Bill 2017 are approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 18 as recommended, Schedules 1 and 2 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science Bill 2017 and are approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 15 as recommended, schedule as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that all the bills be now read a third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved by the Leader of the Senate. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill on animal health and husbandry technology registration bill be now read the third time. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The animal bill, husbandry technology registration bill is read the third time and passed. Okay. The Animal Health and Husbandry Technology Registration Bill 2017 is read the third time. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to regulate the practice and to make provisions for Animal Health Husbandry Technologies Registration Board of Nigeria and for other related matters connected therewith, 2017, third reading.
Yeah, a bill for an act to regulate the practice and to make provisions for Animal Health Husbandry Technologies Registration Board of Nigeria and for other related matters connected there with 2017 third reading. This bill is now read third reading and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to make provision for the compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots and for other matters connected therewith, 2017, third reading.
A bill for an act to make provisions for the compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots and other matters connected there with third reading. This bill is now read the third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for corporate manslaughter to make corporate organizations criminally liable for death of employees arising from the act of omission and for other related matters, 2017, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for corporate manslaughter to make corporate organizations criminally liable for death of employees arising from the acts of omission and for other related matters, 2017 third reading. This bill is now read the third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency for related matters, 2017, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish National Child Protection and Enforcement Agency and for related matters 2017 is ready third time. This bill is now read third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Intelligence Agency Pension Board to handle pension matters for personnel of the agency and for other connected purposes, 2017, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Intelligence Agency Pensions Board to handle pension matters for personnel of the agency and for other connected purposes, 2017, third reading. This bill is now read third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Academy of Science to promote the growth, acquisition, and dissemination of scientific knowledge and to facilitate the use of science in the solution to problems of national interest and for related matters, 2017, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Academy of Science to promote the growth, acquisition, dissemination of scientific knowledge, and to facilitate the use of science in the solution to problems of national interest and for related matters 2017 is ready third time. This bill is now ready third time and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science and for matters connected therewith, 2017, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science and for matters connected there with 2017 is read the third time. This bill is now read the third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, after consultation with distinguished Senator Dino Melai, I move that we step down the consideration of these reports of the FCT committee till another legislative day.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I second the motion as moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the 11th order of the day is second reading of the mandatory hemoglobin genotype test bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 28 March 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ogembe Ahmed to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Ogembe.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Ahmed Ogembe. Mr. President, I'm from Kogi Central Senatorial District. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the opportunity to present the lead debate for the second reading of a bill for an act to provide for compulsory hemoglobin genotype screening tests before a marriage is conducted under the Marriage Act and before registration of new births under the Birth, Death, etc. Compulsory Registration Act and for matters connected therewith 2017. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to humbly lead a debate for the second reading for the mandatory hemoglobin genotype test bill 2017. Our main objective, Mr. President, here is to establish a clear legislative framework for effective management of sickle cell disease. We simply want to avoid human anxiety, pains, and death associated with sickle cell disease. Ultimately, we want to improve the life of often forgotten citizens who live with it. Unknown to many, Mr. President, sickle cell disease is one of the biggest public health problems in Nigeria. According to the Nigerian Journal of Clinical Medicine, Nigeria is known to have the greatest number of sickle cell disease patients per country in the world. The picture is brought into sharper focus when we consider a finding by the American Center for Disease Control and Prevention that slightly above 300,000 babies globally are born with severe sickle cell diseases 225,000 are born in sub-Saharan Africa, representing 75% of the global figure. Nigeria is with a figure of 150,000 babies born with sickle cell disease every year. This carries 66% of the sub-Saharan burden and 50% of the global burden of babies born with severe sickle cell disease. This bill, if and when passed by the National Assembly, will ultimately reduce the incidence of sickle cell disease to the barest minimum in our nation and allow families to live in greater joy. Furthermore, Mr. President, research has shown that only 5% of children born with sickle cell disease live past the age of 10 years in Nigeria. In the advanced world, the life expectancy of a person with sickle cell disease is about 40 to 60 years, even with their best effort in sickle cell disease management. When one compares, Mr. President, the average life expectancy mentioned above to what obtained in 1973 in the US, when it was then only 14 years average life expectancy for a sickle cell disease patient, one would appreciate what appropriate and smart legislation and sickle cell management programs can achieve. Mr. President, our sickle cell disease challenge is an alarm that requires serious attention. A situation where every 2 babies born with severe sickle cell disease condition in the world, one is a Nigerian baby. Many advocates, Nigerian and non-Nigerian alike, have therefore clamored for compulsory testing and increased awareness to curb the menace of the sickle cell disease in Nigeria. This is the basis for the clamor and compulsory testing management and increased awareness to curb sickle cell disease in Nigeria. What is this monster called sickle cell? The World Health Organization says sickle cell disease is a genetic disorder that affects the hemoglobin within the red blood cells. It causes recurrent pain and complications that interferes with many aspects of patients' life, including education, employment, and psychological development. It is a lifelong illness, meaning that a person with sickle cell disease will likely suffer its complications and recurrent pain for life. These effects are more manifest and more often severe when proper management is not present. No parent desire his or her child to live a life of sorrow. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in regards to the constitutional and legal basis, a few may think that this bill may abridge the right to private and family life enshrined in Section 37 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. This is not correct, because Section 45, subsection 1 of the Constitution expressly states that, 1, nothing in Section 37 of this Constitution shall invalidate any law that is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society, A, in the interest of defense, public safety, public order, public morality, or public health. It is the worst form of immorality to deliberately and knowingly bring children into this world to live in unbearable and sustained agony and sorrow. This huge burden on public health facility is avoidable with better awareness on its management. This bill is therefore founded on strong constitutional basis to solve and progressively eradicate the problem of sickle cell disease in Nigeria. Also, this bill is hinged on 2 existing laws within the legislative competence of the National Assembly, namely the Marriage Act and the Birth, Death, etc. Compulsory Registration Act. This bill relies on institutions and processes set up by this Act of the National Assembly to achieve its purpose. Therefore, there is no cost implication, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I note that in 2002, Anambra State enacted a law for intending couples to undergo sickle cell disease testing before marriage. There is, however, no uniform law on SCD across the entire country. This bill will fill that lacuna. Let me also quickly mention that every state in the United States of America and the District of Columbia require that every baby is tested for SCD as part of newborn screening program. Ghana and Togo also have screening programs for newborn babies. We have no reason not to act now, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill is in 6 sections. Section 1 and 2 are respectively on citation and requirement of SCD testing for intending couples and newborn babies. Section 3 is on the responsibilities and certain persons, including Register of Marriages, ministers of licensed places of worship, to advise, counsel, and refuse intending couples who have not done SCD testing before solemnization of marriage. Section 4 is on offenses and penalties under this bill. Section 5 is on the responsibility of some government institutions and professional health bodies to sensitize the public about the SCD testing under the bill. Section 6 is the interpretation section, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill is a direct response to SCD, a disease that is no respecter of status and position. When it comes into poor home, it worsens their plight. And when it comes into rich home, aside depleting their wealth, it wreaks emotional havoc. If we achieve more effective management of sickle cell disease by this bill, then we'll have played our role well as our people's representative. While thanking Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for the honor to present this lead debate, may I humbly state that in compliance with Order 77, subsection 3 of our standing rules, this bill has no financial implication. Accordingly, there is no accompanying financial compendium. For the greater good of our republic, I hereby humbly move for the second reading of this bill to be taken. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Magnus Abbey.
Mr. President, my very distinguished and eminent colleagues, I rise this afternoon to support this very important bill. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, sickle cell disease has become one of the most unnecessary medical distractions that we suffer in this country. All across the world, the prevalence of this disease is going down because by virtue of the awareness and knowledge that people have acquired about what causes this problem to children and couples, they've been able to avoid it simply by making sure that people of the genotype that are exposed to these diseases do not come together to produce children. It is only in Nigeria that we are not taking any effective steps to spread this knowledge, create this information, make this information available to people, and stop people from the genotype that are exposed to this thing from getting married and producing children. There are those who may think it does not matter, Mr. President. Just 2 weeks ago, I attended an event of the Sickle Cell Association of Nigeria in Port Harcourt. And children and parents that have gone through this suffering were brought out to talk to us. If you listen to their story, if you hear what is happening to people who are going through this kind of challenges, to families that may not have the economic wherewithal to be able to support their children through this crisis, you will weep at the suffering that Nigerians are going through that is totally, totally avoidable. This bill, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, will save millions of lives without costing us a dime. I want to say, sir, that one of the things I would like to say is that we should add a section to this bill that makes any marriage contracted in violation of the provisions of this law to be null and void ab initio, so that anybody who finds themselves, yes, please, let me make my point.
You don't have one.
Please.
Senator Magnus Abbey, you were cruising very well. Now, you want to go into. I think you should cruise and land very well.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my distinguished colleagues. I still want to say, sir, that if we want this law to be effective, we must make the law in such a way that there is absolutely no incentive for any couple to try to sidetrack this law. It will be, first of all, we are creating criminal responsibilities on those who conduct marriages to make it a crime for people to conduct a marriage without ascertaining that the couple has gone through testing for their genotype. If we have done that, then the next logical step is to say that any marriage that is contracted in violation of the law will not be given legal recognition in this country. If we do that, sir, as punitive as it may seem at this point, I want to say that 20 years after we enact this law and make it part of our custom and tradition that people of this genotype are not allowed to marry, the whole question of sickle cell anemia in this country would have become extinct by simply making it impossible for us to create more people that have the gene to pass on. It is something we can eliminate in our society. It is something we should work towards eliminating. And one of the ways, the most effective way to eliminate it is to simply make it impossible for people that are AA and AA to marry and then have children. They can fall in love, but they don't have to produce children.
Senator Magnus, let me stop. I think you should reserve this to when it gets to the committee. We're just deciding the principles of the bill at this point. So I'll just hold your debate or your contribution to the principles of the bill. This now, you are going to the details, and I'm sure when we announce the public hearing, you can go there and make that presentation. I'm speaking on behalf of Senator Ogembe, so that it does not, this thing does not crash. So, all right, thank you so much.
I am saying here is a reflection of the passion that I feel, because I have seen the effects of this thing close up. Having said that, sir, I hereby second this bill that it be read, has been moved, and I believe that all of us should support it, whatever our reservations may be. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Omar Agege, are you still contributing?
Yes, Mr. President. Yes, I'm because of no need because
He has to speak. Enlighten us.
Mr. President, Senator Ovie Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to lend my voice in support of this motion to read this bill, to read the bill for a second time by Senator Ogembe. Mr. President, let me begin first by thanking you for the opportunity to entertain this bill. Then moving from there, Mr. President, to thank Senator Ogembe for the effort and the research that has gone into putting together this bill. Mr. President, I've always operated on one principle in life. I try not to delve into areas I'm not very, very familiar with. And this is a very, very scientific area. But I am moved by the data provided by Senator Ogembe. Mr. President, it's very, very scary looking at this data here, that about 150,000 babies born in Nigeria have this disease. It's very, very scary, Mr. President. And more important than that, my biggest interest here, Mr. President, that why this bill does not seek to provide a cure for sickle cell. We're only addressing a reduction, a management of the disease, Mr. President. Now, let me also say, Mr. President, ordinarily, even though you've said we should wait for the public hearing before we address the legality or otherwise of the position taken by Senator Abe, on a good day, I will actually align myself with what Senator Abe has said. And I will be waiting for that opportunity when we go for a public hearing, Mr. President. Mr. President, but let me just say, straight up right now, that the position taken by Abe, as canvassed by Senator Ogembe already, for those who have already indicated that, yes, there may have been a fundamental right that is about to be abridged, you know, if Abe's position were to be looked into. I want them to also look at the public health exception to Section 45, which Ogembe has already canvassed. Not only does that public health exception provide legal basis for asking for this mandatory registration,
he can also support Mr. President, Mr. President. And I'll be waiting for that opportunity to join Abe in canvassing that position. So now, Mr. President, I want to join everyone in asking that this bill be read for a second time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anybody against this bill? So let me put the question. I'll put the question. Yes, Senator James Manja.
My respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South. Mr. President, I recall that this bill, this particular bill, came up last year, the last Senate. The last Senate, that is the 7th Senate. It was discussed. The debate was very lively. Yes. At the end of the day, because of the constitutional provisions, we had difficulties in allowing this bill to go through the second reading. Now it has come again. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, sickle cell disease is a major problem to marriages all over the world, and particularly in Nigeria. No, I'm coming. It's not as if I'm against it. I want to assist. Yes, I know. The next one is your own. We know that very well. Take it easy. So, Mr. President, my respected colleagues, mine is enlightenment. When this bill goes to the committee, let the committee plaster this bill very well because of the constitutional problems that are there. The freedom to this, freedom to that. Marriage, we all know, is exclusively a private matter. It's a private matter. Very private. And therefore, when this bill is taken to the committee level, let the committee take a very critical look at this bill. We have a problem in our hands. How do we get out of it? That is what is important. Mr. President, I am not against this bill, but let us look at the issues very well, so that when we are taking the clause-by-clause reading of this bill, there must be a balance between the need to have this bill and then the constitutional provisions that are also there. Mr. President, I rest my case.
All right, distinguished, let me put the question now. Those in favor that this bill be read the second time, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to make provision for mandatory hemoglobin genotype testing and for other connected matter thereto, 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to make provisions of mandatory hemoglobin genotype testing and for other connected matters thereof, 2017, second reading taken. This bill is referred to the Committee on Health. There's already a bill with the Committee on Health on Sickle Cell Anemia Prevention Control Management Bill 2015, which again goes on to address the same issue. So there's need for at the committee level to take note of that and try and put those two together so that we can have a common position, because I'm sure there's an overlap in the two bills. And this is referred to health and report back in 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that we step down the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th order of the day till another legislative day. No. Okay, the next one, sorry. I thought it was for Abu Brian. So we step down the 12th order of the day and take the 13th order of the day.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that we step down the 12th order in the order paper till the next legislative day.
Distinguished, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
The 13th, distinguished, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 13th order of the day is the second reading of the Police Act Amendment Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 15th June 2017. Mr. President, you wish to invite Senator Odori Mutinubu to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Odori Mutinubu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is my privilege to lead the debate on the bill to amend the Police Act Cap P19 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for enlistment requirements and welfare, align punishments contained therein with current realities, and for related matters. This bill was read on Thursday, 15th June 2017. The Nigerian Police Force is the agency of government tasked with the maintenance of peace, law, and order within the Nigerian borders. The Nigerian Police Act empowers the agency to preserve law and order, enforce laws, occasionally perform military duties, etc. Thus, the importance of its role cannot be underscored. It is not in contention that we need to strengthen our institutions. To do this, their enabling laws must be effective, efficient, and functional. In a world that is fraught with so much crime and evil, the police should be dependable. The Nigerian Police Force was established in 1930, and the Police Act was promulgated in 1943. The Act further empowered the executive to make subsidiary legislations for the daily workings of the police force. In effect, whatever the legislature failed to include in the Act enacted by it could be covered by the executive. Thus, the Nigerian Police Regulations came into existence. In 1968, police regulations covering enlistment into the police force, terms of service, organization of the police force headquarters, etc., was put in place. I must, however, bring to your attention that despite the steady moving train that is the world we live in, the Nigerian Police Act and police regulations have remained transfixed, unmoving, and unyielding. The result is provisions that have become counterproductive and are failing in the purpose for which they were initially put in place. Case in point, Section 42 of the extant law provides a fine of 200 naira or imprisonment for a term of 1 year for personation of a police officer. The punishment in this case, the fine, no longer matches the offense. In other jurisdictions, impersonation of a person is a grievous offense. Impersonation of a police officer even more so. There are other provisions such as Section 40, which punishes refusal to aid an assaulted police officer by the imposition of a mere 50 naira fine. Section 41, which imposes a fine of 10 naira for an offense of harboring or giving intoxicating liquor to an officer who is on duty. This amendment bill seeks to bring the fines and punishments contained in the Act to parity with the present realities in Nigeria. Even more disturbing is the enlistment requirement as contained in police regulations. The regulations allow for enlistment of men who have attained age 17, but set enlistment age for women at 19. I've been unable to find a reason for the variation in enlistment age for the different genders. Section 29, subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, pegs the attainment of adulthood at age 18. Thus, a law which allows a child to be enlisted in the nation's police force is not only counterproductive, it is also against the principles of international law and international humanitarian law. This is especially important as police officers are allowed to carry arms. Should we, however, decide to uphold age 17 as enlistment age, why does it discriminate against the woman by moving the goalpost for her? Is a 19-year-old woman only equivalent to a man who is 17 years old? This provision is discriminatory and contravenes the Section 42 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. However, the plight of the Nigerian woman seeking to join the police force does not stop there. The Act further exempts Nigerian women
who are married from being enlisted. I initially hoped that married women were entitled to certain benefits, such as freedom from being posted all around the country. However, Rule 125 goes on to state that married women shall be virtue of the Act not be entitled to any benefits. Why then does it preclude married women from enlisting if for all intents and purposes there are no benefits distinguishing them from unmarried women? The police regulation goes on to provide that unmarried women may only marry after they have served in the police for 3 years, subject to the approval of the police commissioner. It must be noted that there is no commensurate provision requiring men to obtain approval or permission to marry. As a nation, we would do well to not institutionalize patriarchy or discrimination against women. An act which provides that women may be granted maternity leave is unfair and militates against working women. Women should by law be entitled to maternity leave. It should be compulsory, and the language ought to be changed to shall. Women all around the world are breaking boundaries, charting uncharted waters, and dominating professions that were erstwhile male-dominated. Nigeria as a nation will do well to not promote or encourage the repression of women through legislation. This bill is for women like me, our sisters, wives, and daughters who have vision of impacting their society. This is for women who want to contribute their own quota to stem the tide of crime in our nation. This is for our generation of daughters unborn. We owe it to them to create equal opportunities for all, regardless of gender. My distinguished colleague, I urge you all to support this bill. I thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the support.
Senator Gbenga Shafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the passage of this bill, the consideration and the passage, given the importance of the bill. We could see that the submissions of Senator Oluremi Tinubu OON, the senator representing Lagos Central, covered almost all the areas. The summary of what she has done by way of research is to call the attention of the powers that be, particularly the National Assembly, to wake up and look at all these archaic laws that are inhibiting the services of the Nigerian police. Particular reference will be made to is our emphasis in the area of gender discrimination. We have to really work on this and support this bill. On that note, I want to urge my colleagues not to waste too much time. We can contribute, but we shouldn't waste too much time in ensuring that this bill pass through the second reading. I so second.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Let me appreciate Senator Oluremi Tinubu, OON, Lagos Central, for this lead debate, which is very, very important. The police force generally needs a lot of overhauling. All the laws need to be overhauled. But the most important of the laws is the one that affects gender. And that is what has been brought out by this bill. There is no doubt that the discrimination we've been talking about is very, very apparent in the police Act. And this is a great contradiction to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There is the need to quickly look at this and ensure that all these offensive provisions that affect womanhood are taken out. And also, Mr. President, this brings to the fore the need for us to take a look quickly at the GEO bill so that we can put the two together and ensure that the female gender has a pride of place in Nigeria. As said by Senator Tinubu, many women all around the world, and even in Nigeria and in the police force, are breaking boundaries and making the most of their situation. And there is every need for government and acts such as the Police Act to support them so that they can give their best everywhere, and especially in the police force. I support this bill, and I believe it should be passed. And I ask all gender-friendly senators to support it. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, Dino Melaye, Kogi West, I want to specially appreciate distinguished Senator Oluremi Tinubu, not only for bringing this very important bill, but also to appreciate the sonorous voice of the delivery. Mr. President, my colleagues, the Police Act as presently put together, Mr. President, is colloquial, is analog, is archaic, is outdated, and absolutely obsolete. Therefore, there's a need for amelioration, there's a need for palliation, there's a need for correction. This bill have itemized very specific areas of these corrections. I want to, on behalf of gender-friendly senators in this chamber and rapper-time colleagues of mine, to appreciate this wonderful bill that is seeking to correct the anomalies in the present act of the Nigerian police. To also state, Mr. President, that as presently put together, this bill is anti-constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Because Section 42 of the Constitution, I seek your permission, Mr. President, to read, states that a citizen of Nigeria of a particular community, ethnic group, place or religion, sex, religion or political opinion shall not by reason only that is such a person be subjected either expressly by or in practical application of any law enforced in Nigeria or any other